Again, that was Nathan Rabin from the Onion AV Club, reflecting on podcasting and my podcast, and I'm very thankful for his support. He's a smart guy. You should read his book. You know, one thing that is happening that I'm not sure I'm handling. I think I'm handling it okay, but I'm a little more known. I got this weird email. The subject line, 89 memory, 1989. Mark, I caught your act in Boston back in 89 while at school. You followed a lady who bombed trying a Stephen Wright deadpan, all the while silencing the room. You led with a dick joke, something about the mic stand being used for penile exams. I did that. I will cop to that. Yeah. And kept going strong with a bit about folks catching connecting flights after being in a plane crash. I did that. I remember that joke. Funny thing is that the memory of your act has stayed strong, but I never knew who you were. You were that guy. In the mess of my early 20s chaos, I just never caught your name. You surfaced again in my little narrative years later with an appearance on Leno. No, it wasn't. It was Conan. And you were talking about Sanjaya Malakar getting shot in the head and exploding in a firework display of bad hair and blood. I realized then that you were, hey, there's that guy. But still didn't catch your name. Now I've become a big fan of your podcast, and I've put these fractured memories together. I don't have any motivation for sending this to you, other than I wanted to share how strong of an impression your material made on me several decades ago. Apart from George Carlin, I haven't seen another comedian who left that kind of memory. Most fade like graduation speeches with their platitudes of mediocrity. Thanks for the great work, and I hope it's as fulfilling for you to make it as it is for me to listen. Sincerely, Joel. Well, it is, and there's one thing I can say about this show is that in some areas I'm no longer that guy, and I'm flattered, and I like it. You know, I think I'm ready. You know, at 48, after years of beating my head against the wall and being my own worst enemy, to be not that guy, to being Marc Maron. I'm okay with that. So let's talk now to Jesse Thorn. Jesse Thorn, of course, the host of Bullseye and the co-host of Jordan Jesse Go, and the main dude at Maximum Fun. I have a lot of respect for him. Originally a radio guy, now a podcast king. The guy who showed me how to use my equipment. Let's enter the conversation with Jesse Thorn. I read one book and I was happy. Yeah. I read one book. And I hadn't read a book in I don't fucking know how long. I don't know how people
read books. I don't know either.
Anymore.
I can't deal with it. Because the TV's right there.
Well, there's that, but I don't know how to budget my time. You're running an empire.
I read books that I do read books, but it's only because I have guests on my show that, that write books, and then I have to read the book.
But when do you read them? Laying in bed with your wife, or like?
I read them like the day before in a headlong rush. I can't do. I feel bad about it, but I have lost the ability to read a book sitting in bed.
Yeah.
Or
that's fester time. Or that.
Yeah, exactly. That is it's time for me to go on Twitter, type my name into it, and see what insults people have spewed at me.
How am I going to be hurt? Who's going to love me? Who's going to not love me?
Exactly.
How do I check in with that?
Yeah, my therapist told me that because I grew up in a conflict, in a context that was full of conflict, that I'm only comfortable when I'm working on resolving a conflict of some kind.
Wow. Really?
Isn't that intense?
Does that include just does it have to be a conflict, or could it just be a problem?
That's why. Yeah. Well, it could just be a problem.
Right.
But if I'm like sitting around, I'm done with what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Then I'll just go. I'll get involved in something.
Right, sure.
A fight on the internet.
You're a drama addict.
Whatever.
That's what we call it.
Yeah.
I'm here to help, but I'm happy to be watching this. If there's anything I can do, I'd love to, but I'm perfectly fine just getting a little buzz from all the commotion.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be interviewing you, Mark.
No, you're not. No, the way this is going to go. No, this is the way it's going to go.
How's it going to go?
You're not. You don't.
I'm not as good an interviewer as Birbiglia.
You're not the Birbiglia. I didn't ask you here to play the Birbiglia role. This is. We're looking towards the future, Jesse. We've done 300 episodes, and honestly, and I've told you this before, when I called you, I didn't know anybody else that did this kind of thing.
Right.
I didn't, I knew you because of the radio show. I knew you did a podcast, but I literally called you up and I was like, what kind of mics?
You knew me as the guy whose emails you'd suddenly regretted ignoring.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You had me on your show when you were in college, and then you asked me to do your show again, and I'm like, who is this guy? Is he still doing that thing on the street in college or whatever that was?
The good news is that I just assumed that you had changed email addresses.
No, and then I'm in my kitchen, I hear you on the radio, I'm like, wow, I better return that guy's email. He seems to be doing okay for himself, that fella. But quite honestly, you told me what kind of mics to get. I went out and bought the wrong mics.
Right.
And then you showed me you brought your mics over here and you said, these are the mics you need. And I'm like,
right.
Okay. And then I got those mics and then you showed me how to hook them up. And then I asked you where to put the little switch on the back. You told me that. Then I got this mixer and you're like, I don't really have one of those, but it's got to be pretty simple. You showed me how to use this. And then you showed me how to use GarageBand. I still use it the way that you showed me how to use it, even though it might not be the way.
What I like about the origin story of WTF and my involvement in it, is that I just suggested some microphones to you, but it is as though I gave you some sort of talismanic sword.
You did. You were the angel. I was like, I need an angel. I need a podcasting angel. But you were very giving with your time. You didn't think twice about it. You sat here with me and you held my hand as I figured out how to work GarageBand. And because I realized this today, you don't use GarageBand anymore. It's been years since you used GarageBand. But
well, I've never been a Mac guy, so I've actually never used GarageBand.
Right. So the way you used it was you'd open a file, but you'd open a general file, which is piano. Then you delete that and then open another file and it'd be a mic. Like a vocal file.
Right.
Now, I know that I can just open a vocal file, but because you told me to do it that way, I still do it that way, which is a roundabout way of doing it, but I just cannot fuck with the system.
Because I told you, because when I came here, I had never used GarageBand in my life.
Is that true?
Said, yeah, I had recorded before, but I had never used GarageBand. And so you said to me, well, how do I do this? And I said, well, I bet I could figure it out.
Right.
So you're still, all these years later, not only doing, I think it's normal to sort of go into something blind, figure it out, and then do it a weird, convoluted way forever. Mm-hmm. But it's unusual to ask someone for their expert opinion, have them figure it out and give you a weird, convoluted solution, and then do that forever.
I'm using the way you figured out how to use GarageBand.
Yes, exactly.
That's the way I do it. Now it has become a talisman. And these mics, like you've got me, like I had seen these mics before, but once your love for the Shure SM7 just was transposed right onto me. And if I walk into other radio places, I'm like, oh yeah, SM7s. Mm-hmm. I know nothing about any other kind of mic. Yeah. I have the mics that I use on the road, which I don't think you would ever use, but the SM7s, I'm like, these are amazing.
Right.
These are the best mics.
Right. And they're not. I mean, they're the best mics for our purposes.
They're not the best mics?
Well, there's these like $3,000 Neumann microphones that people have sometimes.
Really? Why would you need, why?
You don't need them.
I mean,
that's why we have these.
No, but these sound good. These have the sound
great. Yeah.
These have the sound we want, Jesse.
You know what? If these are good enough for Michael Jackson on Thriller, they're good enough for me.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, that brings a whole new dimension to it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But I just want to talk about where you're at now. You just got offices. You've got real offices. Like you're running an empire of shows. You've got Jordan Jesse Go. You've got Bullseye. You've got the other one and the one after that.
Sure.
Judge John Hodgman. You do the two new shows. What are they called?
International Waters, Throwing Shade, Stop Podcasting Yourself.
So how many
The
you got
Memory
now?
Palace. I think it's 7, 6 or 7. I don't know actually.
Why don't you know?
Because I don't count very well. I don't know why I don't know, Mark.
Okay.
We've got 6-ish.
Okay. So now I do a podcast from my garage and you're on it right now. And this is all I can handle.
Right.
But clearly when you started in radio, your goal was to be an NPR guy.
Yeah.
To be,
and I'm a failure at that.
Well, thank God. I mean,
it's nice to hear someone say that.
Hasn't it gotten to a point with that operation and with what NPR is where you can honestly say, you know what? Maybe I wasn't cut out for this, and that's okay.
That's occurred to me, Mark. That really has occurred to me.
Maybe there's only room for 2 or 3 guys. There's only room for Ira and Jad, and then wait, don't tell me. That's it. It's doors are closed now.
Yeah, I kind of think that might be the case. It makes me sad though, Mark, because that is really what I wanted to do with my life.
Well, let's talk about that audience for a minute.
Yeah.
Because, with This American Life, I think you share listeners. I think we both share listeners with them and Radiolab and Wait and those things. But it seems to me that the infrastructure, the bureaucracy of NPR, because of their fear of particular listeners that I'm not even sure exist, they're not so willing to let
They
someone...
do. They all listen to Wait.
Everybody.
Wait has so many millions of listeners.
It's a funny show.
Yeah, well, what Wait does well, and what I can't figure out how to do well, apparently, is Wait is for people that listen to our shows, and also for lame people.
Right.
Like, they're for both of those people. Like, and they don't compromise, I think, to do it. They're making their show. It just works for, it's sort of like, Seinfeld. Seinfeld worked for 25 million people every week or whatever. 30 Rock, which I also love, only works for 2 million or whatever. But for some reason, Seinfeld figured out how to make a thing that was really specific, really wonderful, really great, that worked for people that everyone liked.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Harmon conundrum. Harmon thought that Community would be that.
Yeah.
He really did.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why it shouldn't have, except that maybe there's nothing you can do to manufacture lightning in a bottle. But my point about NPR, and I like NPR, is that I don't know if new listeners are necessarily coming in.
Right.
And so now we have podcasts.
Right.
And now you have to admit that your life has been irreversibly changed for the better because of a decision to podcast.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that idea of, I don't know if new listeners come in. Now we have podcasts. There was this guy who quit, and I'm forgetting his name, but he quit American Public Media, or was fired from American Public Media recently. And they make, Marketplace and all these other shows. And he left there and said, listen, if we're trying to find new audiences, we'd better do it fast, because they live in the age of the internet, and they will just create something else. We will be cut out. We cannot rely upon people to find us in the way that they could before. I mean, I think a lot of public radio's success has been built upon, A, making a high-quality product, and B, the fact that if you want high-quality product on your radio, it's the only choice.
And C, guilt. But weirdly, I'm an NPR listener.
Right.
I mean, it's all I really listen to in the car, if I'm playing something inside.
Yeah, but I think in 10 years, your car, it will be easy for 15 years. It'll be easy for you to listen to something that you've chosen affirmatively in your car. I listen to the radio in the car too, because my car is a 2004 and it doesn't have a line in on the stereo, and I like how the knobs feel, so I don't want to put in a new stereo.
Right.
So I just listen to the radio most of the time. And sometimes I'll put my phone with a little speaker in my shirt pocket to listen to a podcast. But, mostly it's a hassle to listen to a podcast, and that's all it takes. But that will go away.
Right. And in terms of building, becoming a producer of podcasts, I'm just I'm trying to think about the future, because I have this conversation with people, is that we all found out through Ira Glass mentioning something in a news article that was unrelated to the something he mentioned, really what the ceiling of this audience is. And he mentioned that in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong, he said that the response to the Mike Daisy thing, it was his largest episode, and that was 800,000. And if that's the number one podcast's largest audience for an episode, that's our ceiling. That's 800,000.
Right.
So I start to think, and obviously you're doing well with your model in terms of making money enough to rent office and to have a kid who enjoys hats.
Yeah.
And, I'm doing okay. I don't know what I'm going to do. Really, I can't see myself out of this garage, but I'm just that kind of person. I'm unable to compartmentalize or think about anything.
And it's a nice garage. I don't think you need to be out of the garage.
No, I don't want to be out of the garage, but I have some concerns about, what happens now? I mean, is this it? I mean, am I now this, am I this guy, I do this podcast. I'm very proud of it. I like it. I'm earning money from it. I enjoy doing it.
Well,
still.
there's a thing that happens, and I know this because this happens to me, which is that you get really keyed into the idea of growing bigger, building towards something, solving something. And the problem is that if you get somewhere that you want to be, you still feel like you are not growing, rather than happy being a success.
Right. Like
because
this,
you're making a good living from the work that you're doing right now. You're making a good living from the show and from your stand-up and from TV projects.
It's all because of the podcast. Every bit of success I have right now, outside of the fact that obviously I've been a comic for a long time and I've done a lot of different things, but everything I have that is happening is because of these 2 mics that you told me to get in my garage.
But the thing of it is that you, I'm sure, are sitting around thinking like, well, how come I can't host the Tonight Show or whatever?
No, all I'm thinking about, oddly, is I become sort of more, what's the word? I get concerned for the medium.
Mm-hmm.
There's part of me, and even when I talk to you, or if I talk to Benson or anybody, there's some part of me that's sort of like, how are we all going to make this bigger? Look, I'm not a businessman.
Right.
This all happened in a way, I was not a guy, who was like, I'm going to run a small business.
Right.
And, I had to, figure out how to do this.
Well, I only run a small business basically because I discovered, much to my dismay, that I couldn't make a living from being on the radio.
It's like teaching.
Yeah.
NPR is like teaching, and if you're not Ira Glass.
Well, the thing is NPR is, public radio is, the production of shows are generally subsidized either by major grant funders, by stations, there are all these places where the production of the show is paid for. It's not by the radio stations that carry the shows. And so the problem for me has been that I do a show that it's not really grant fundable.
Right.
And I don't do it at a station. So my problem is that because I'm just a guy, my net from stations and stuff is about $25,000 a year. And so I'm doing this show that has 2 people working on it pretty much full time and, has an office and a studio and all this different stuff. And I'm doing it with a net income from radio of $25,000 a year,
And the donations from the radio.
Yeah. And so what I ended up doing is doing all these other things essentially to make it so that I could do this one thing.
And you don't want to sell dildos, because I will sell dildos.
I want to sell, what kind of dildos I want to sell? I want to sell...
Tweed.
No, I want to sell, good vibrations dildos.
What, the San Francisco?
I want to sell, this is very important to me. I would love if anyone out there works at a Babes in Toyland, at a Good Vibrations, at one of these sort of sex-positive, lesbian-owned dildo stores. I'm all over selling those dildos.
You just want to be connected to a proactive, progressive, ideological sex toy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're very aware of
green sex toy, some sort of eco sex toy.
Sure, something made out of recycled
bamboo fibers.
No, those are not sexy words either. Fibers that never come.
Speak for yourself, Mark.
Yeah, a good weave. But that also has to do with your awareness of the audience you want.
Yeah,
like I don't ever think about that.
That's not true.
No, I mean you
think all the time about the audience. The last time I was on this show, we talked for 20 minutes about how we struggle to understand our audiences.
But you seem to know
wide swaths of our audience.
But you seem to know going in that there's a tone that you're creating with a network of shows.
Yeah.
I think it's just an approach to the themes that I think are essential to being a person. And the struggles I struggle with are, basically love, self-acceptance, living in the world, this sort of why are we here stuff. And I'm just trying to render that down. And I think that, even the notion or the reality of somebody challenging themselves to figure that stuff out is very taxing for some people. It's like, oh my God, why is he bothering with this?
It's exhausting.
Exactly.
I find myself exhausted listening to WTF sometimes.
Well, I'm going to put that on the blurb. Exhausting. Jesse Thorn.
Producer, WTF, the public radio version.
Exhausting. Your station should have this. But also, I don't know that I ever got into this as even a business.
Right.
And I think you got into it to be part of a community of like-minded people.
That rejected me.
Right. But now you're building the next generation of that.
Right.
I mean, where do you see the Max Fun universe going?
That's an interesting question, because I've been really struggling with this lately because, as I said, Bullseye, and formerly The Sound of Young America, had always been the center of it. You know, it had always been a structure that allowed me to do this show. And I realized, I was like, wow, you know, this public radio thing, which has been so central to my identity, is really sort of a heartbreak as much as it is anything else. And I have to go through a lot of pain with public radio world in order to make this thing. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, Jordan Jesse Go on the internet has roughly as many listeners as Bullseye. It is time that I spend with my best friend joking around, which is my number one favorite activity, probably.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why am I doing the one that is so painful? So, because I'm really invested in it. But I have to think about how can I change that equation so that I'm not constantly hating the fact that I'm not on more public radio stations. Because, you know, on the one hand, who cares? I'm on some great public radio stations, and, you know, I got this great internet audience, right?
Well, isn't that interesting, though? Because I'm the same way with stand-up. Is that, like, really before the podcast and before people got to know me and before the podcast had an impact on anybody or whatever part it plays in their life, I was just a marginalized comic that couldn't sell tickets. And now I sell tickets, but I think I'm slowly becoming more known as an interviewer.
Right.
Certainly to the people that listen to my show.
Right.
And it was a hard thing for me to accept that when people say, like, hey, your podcast means a lot to me. I'm like, well, did you like the show? That,
right.
You know, like, there's this part of me that's like, well, it must be the same with you. Do you listen to Bullseye on NPR at all? Do you get it? Where you, like, there's that moment where I'm like, but I've been doing comedy. I'm a comedian. And I know I'm doing good comedy. But I also know in my heart that, you know, I might not ever be as big as I might have wanted to or have the stature as a comedian that
right.
I might have wanted to, and that is heartbreaking.
Because the thing is there is this thing in your heart that you have set up to be who you are is a part of your self-definition. Right. I know from your show and from knowing you how central to you the idea of being a comic is. And, you know, there's not any, I know almost no comics that aren't like that, and you can tell because comedians will still talk to each other about those actors in the mid-'80s that, you know, decided to become stand-up comedians so that they could get more parts.
They weren't real comics.
Like, they're so they're still angry about that 25 years later, you know, because it is a central part of their
it's a community,
identity.
and it's a struggle. It's a journey. You know, we're warriors.
Right, exactly. And it's tough to figure out if that's this. And you know, for me, I've been doing The Sound of Young America, now Bullseye, since I was 19.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is all that I've ever done in my adult life. But it is my thing.
But on the other side of that, you're still within that community. When you do a live podcast of any kind, whether it's Jordan Jesse or do you do Bullseyes occasionally?
Yeah, sure.
That, you know, you all of a sudden have this audience that you know appreciates you. But there's just this weird thing about being validated by the either, you know, the mainstream audience vis-a-vis a delivery system that everybody gravitates to.
Right.
And yours is NPR, and mine would be, you know, HBO or whatever. But
right.
I've got this show on IFC that I'm thrilled to try. And I'm thrilled that it's happening, and I'm looking forward to it. But there's this idea we have of ourselves. Maybe I'm obviously a bigger comic than I was 3 years ago. And I was always sort of a respected comic, but I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to blow up, but all the opportunities that are coming because, you know, I built this thing, and you did as well. And it's weird that, you know, that our success has to be tempered by this strange heartbreak and self-flagellation.
Well, it would be nice if, you know, something that I fantasize about sometimes. When I hosted a TV show for a little while, it was really fun to just have it be my job to just go host the TV show. Like, someone handed me the script to the TV show. I just looked at it.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, familiarized myself with it, and then tried to remember to smile more than I would ordinarily.
You were hired to be Jesse Thorn.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was great. It was a blast. And there's a part of it where, you know, you get a lot out of fighting and making your own thing and all that stuff. But you can see the appeal of of doing it without having to get into a big fight all the time.
Being an undeniable commodity that people will respect because they know if they put you in front of people will give them money.
Yeah, well, you make it sound so dirty, Mark.
It is dirty. As soon as you get other people involved, there's going to be a little dirtiness involved. But let's talk about the future of podcasting in general, because we're on this path, and we are. I think I can say without bragging that we were at the cutting edge of it. You before me, and several others before me. But this, I have to see this, not as some sort of visionary or even somebody who's looking ahead in a business level, but I have to see it as growing and becoming something larger. How does that happen in your mind?
Well, I think that it's tough. The problem is that what makes for the best situation for people who make stuff and for people who consume it is if there's an open platform. And I think one of the great things about podcasting is it's an open platform. Anybody can make an MP3 file. Any player can play an MP3 file. You can play it on your computer.
Yeah.
RSS is really simple. It works easily, and it's automatic, and so on and so forth. The problem is that the technologies that have been built on the back of that just haven't gotten to the point where they're easy enough for a person that doesn't care to use it.
Right.
So you have to still be like, people will, I'm sure this happens to you, Mark. People tell me all the time, oh yeah, I don't do podcasts.
I don't know how.
Yeah, but the problem is that it's just human nature to not be, there are nerds, and nerds like problems and finding elegant solutions to the problems. And those people, for them, it's like, well, why wouldn't you just learn? I'm like that. Why wouldn't you just learn how to do it if it's going to give you a better whatever?
Yeah.
But the truth is that for most people, even 5% hassle is enough to just be like, well, screw it. Because, radios the average household has 7 radios and they 4 TVs.
So you're saying that people are just waiting until there's just an on-off switch and a dial.
Exactly. And the thing that I worry about is that in getting to that point, you lose the openness part. You lose the part where it's accessible to anyone.
Well, because there's going to be somebody deciding who's on the dial.
I worry about that. So I think the future of podcasting is predicated upon finding something that makes it much easier to hear these things. So makes it as easy as me turning on the radio in my car and enjoying the feel of the dials. And that still, for our purposes, for our tastes, still has that openness.
Right, and it's weird because even satellite radio is confusing to me.
Yeah.
Even then, it's too many choices. I don't know how it unfolds, but I do think that we should both be. I'm very happy with the audience I have, and I'd
be very happy with the audience you have too, Mark.
And I've never been more happy as a comic or better as a comic, and I've never had more people come out to see me, and I have a TV deal. And I'm going to make a TV show.
You've got a copy of the book Happiness for Dummies.
I do. That was given to me. And all of that happened because
it seems like a prop, Mark.
Yeah, no.
It seems like something you would leave on the table. So
it's not it's over on the shelf. If it was a prop, I'd leave it on the table. I only leave stuff on the table just to, I don't know. I don't have, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
But I think we should both be grateful and happy that we've found this thing.
So why aren't we? Why are we such assholes?
Let's save that
why
for
are we such whiny jerks?
Let's save that for the 400th episode. Thanks for hanging out, Jesse.
Well, thank you for having me, Mark, as always.